Hello, everybody. It is me, Pacific. Oh, man. You know what? I'm going to tell y'all something. I was thinking about this the other day because I think it's time for my viewers and fans to know a few things. Number one, in 1966, I was born somewhere in Los Angeles County, California, and put up for adoption. 4 months went by, and I was adopted. I was born a United States citizen. See that? You see that? The old Navy flag. I'm watching stuff go on in this country that really, really bothers me. It was interesting. I don't have many dreams, but I had a dream last night. And I don't remember what the context was, but Barack Obama had come up to me. And he was very rude to me, and I said, you know what, I do not like you, Mr. President. I do not like you at all. I think you're one of the worst leaders ever. I remember leaving his presence going, I'm a marked man. Because when somebody doesn't like somebody, they're going to find a way to get them. It was just a dream. We've arrived at a point where I just don't believe we're going to easily fix the problems in this country, Democrat or Republican, and certainly not by the Democratic Party. I mean, they are so far left of center that it's not even worth discussing at this point. 77,000 people are crossing the Mexican border into the United States every day. And what is Barack Obama doing? Nothing. And I started thinking that when our own leaders won't do a darn thing about this, they're calling on churches. My friend in Michigan said that her and her folks heard that they're thinking about bringing some of them to Saginaw. What are we doing? I'm not going to lie. There's a part of me that'd like to bring Indoquita to the border and say, I'll meet you down there. I got a passport. And I'll get you across. Why not? Why is it that a man can't go get himself a woman and just parade her right across the border and say, sorry, this is my woman, man. I'm legal. She's going to be legal soon because you're letting all these other clowns in. I'll tell you what, it bothers me. But let me go to a 21-year-old punk whose social media I discovered through somebody, one of my fans, who hates the United States, who's anti-flag, anti-American, and he's from Finland. And this punk told me he doesn't want to get kicked out of the U.S., so he tries to behave. Yeah, right, we're going to talk about that in a video one day. Not at all. And when you look on his social media, his remark for the 4th of July is attacking us as Americans. Then everybody remembers the infamous 9/11. And I'm going to say something very blunt here. There's some wingnuts and nut jobs that believe that 9/11 was orchestrated by our government. I'm going to tell you something. Our government has problems, but that is categorically baloney. We want to believe that our country is so airtight. I'm going to tell you something. We are still very wide open and trusting. If somebody wants to do something bad enough in this country, they're going to do it. 9/11 hijackers had passports, visas, were getting an education in Florida at flight schools, taking advantage of American bill of fare so that they could cause destruction and death upon us. We have people sitting in this country right now that hate white people, hate the American Constitution, hate everything about us. They're taking advantage of our universities. They're taking advantage of all the freedoms that we have. And I've got a message for anybody that comes in from another country and hates our country and is taking advantage of our goods and services. Get out. Leave. You're not welcome here. Of course, the bleeding heart liberals want you to come. The universities want all the illegals to enroll in a public education. It makes me sick. That something is not being done about this border crisis is disgusting. That Barack Obama just laughs, the Republicans want to impeach me. Are you riding the Ego Express, Mr. Barack? Still? We got a country that's plummeting into problems, and you're just walking around like you're on the deck of the Titanic, sipping wine and tasting cheese. You're a disgrace to the nation as a leader. A disgrace. This problem is costing us huge amounts of money. Anybody hear about the outbreak of scabies on the Mexican border? Has anybody been paying attention? That these guys are bringing in diseases, criminal histories, drug lords, children that could possibly be kidnapped just to get across the border? I watched a video the other day where they're just pouring over the fence. Let me say something. I'm not against somebody immigrating to the United States properly, but when they penalize a guy for marrying a foreign wife and make him pay thousands of dollars and file all these petitions and paperwork to get his wife over here, I think that's bullcrap. But we're just letting 77,000 people come in a day. I tell you what, I'm not going to lie. I've entertained the idea. I have entertained the idea. Fly her to Mexico. I stroll right in on my passport, and I go meet her and say, let's go. We're walking in together, and if they shoot me, they shoot me. And all I'll do is say, hey, wait a minute. I'm a citizen. You can't touch me. And she's coming with me, and you're not going to separate the two of us. Why not? Our country is breaking the law, and it is disgusting. We promote homosexual same-sex unions. We promote murder and abortion. We promote feminist, man-hating so-called agendas. And we allow all these people to pour into our borders when we have an economic downturn that's the worst it's ever been. Outside a 1929 stock market crash. I'm disgusted. We got a nation of idiots. I'm going to tell you something, viewers. If you don't believe me, I want you to take a look at the number of trolls on YouTube, and I want you to ask one question. What country did the number of trolls, the proliferation of trolls seem to come from? That's right here, United States. Again, I'll say it, liver-bellied chickens that snipe from the backgrounds. No picture, no videos, no profile. They just make stupid comments. One wag wrote today, you sure seem to have a lot to say, Pacific, but you can't keep on topic. Really? I think I keep on topic pretty darn well. I wrote him back and said, do you have ADD or attention deficit disorder? Because you might want to get checked. Lame. It's interesting, isn't it? I would never risk bringing Indoquita to the U.S. I couldn't live with my conscience for that. And I am not allowed to break the law. I'm not. But I tell you what, you Filipinas and you Chinese women and you Vietnamese and Indonesian, you might want to pay attention to what's going on and land yourselves in Mexico and try to come over. Because they're sure not stopping them. If you want a free chance to come to the U.S., now's your chance. I mean, the government has basically said, if you come in through the Mexican border, we're going to look the other way. I know for a fact that if I brought Indoquita in, I'll bet you $1 million they'd stop me. I wonder what they'd do if the news just happened to show the people climbing over and they see me with an American flag shirt with an Asian girl climbing over the fence and they zero in on that. Look, isn't that an American? What's going on here? And I'll just smile and go, thanks, Mr. President. Thanks for letting me have a beautiful woman to be with me now. It seems like the U.S. is doing everything it can to keep us from the women we want to have and forcing us to, grab crumbs that fall from the crummy table I have a viewer from Colorado I'd like to welcome aboard this channel. She's been writing me, telling me about what it's like to grow up. I did not ask for explicit permission to read emails. All that I can say is that reading her emails, I find myself going, oh my gosh, this woman's been through a lot of crap. She thought that I hated women at first, but as she listened to me, she goes, gosh, he doesn't hate women, but everything he's saying about women, I can say about American men. Let me say, I agree. I'm not one-sided. Truth is truth, and truth hurts. A lot of American men are not good. But let's get back to this American thing. I get really tired of hateful, demonic, twisted perverts coming into our country. Yes, 21-year-old man, bisexual. Reading his social media, I like butts, I like touching butts. Talking about banging butts. It amazes me when you see this stuff. It amazes me when you read on and you read that this crap is sitting in our country, putting down the United States. Pacific, you put down the U.S.? Yes, I do. I have a right to. But I vote. I'm registered. I'm a citizen. And I have the right to speak and look in on our own culture and go, hey, if we don't straighten something out here, we're going to go down the toilet. Most people believe we've already gone there. I tend to agree. We allow Islam people to come to the U.S., and some of them seem friendly because they're small in number in the city you live in. But let me make it crystal clear, lest my viewers forget and are ignorant of historical reality. When Islamics get control and they gain numbers, they will take over. If you don't believe me, look at France, Germany, UK. Their own governments have had to say, hey, whoa, hold it. In Florida, a woman wanted to wear her sari and her head all covered up, and they said, if you want a driver's license, you have to take it off. Big old outcry. I'm sorry, we don't need Sharia law in the U.S. That's a bit much. We do need some law in the U.S., but right now the laws that are on the books aren't even followed. Hey, gringo, thank you for letting me come into America. Yeah, this is nice. Free hospitalization, free food, free clothing. Now we're calling on the churches in the U.S. to house them. Wait a minute. I thought the government was all for separation of church and state. Now we want the government to ask the church for help. Amazing hypocrisies. And why should the church be... I got to be careful what I say, because we need to reach everybody for Jesus Christ. I wish Barack Obama would answer me a question. Barack, would you prosecute me if I snuck in an Asian woman because I can't find any decent wife here? Would you have a problem with that? Of course you would. How can you justify 77,000 people climbing over the border every day? We have a president who is making the country look ridiculous around the globe. We have a president who's caught up in his public image and his ego while he's been slipping in the polls. We have a president who's not created one job. We have a president that's amassed more deficit on us than Bush and all the other presidents combined. Read it and weep. We have a president who pushed two things that were epic failures. One, the stimulus package. Let's give AIG money. Really? Aren't they the ones that got us in the subprime mortgage scandal? You betcha. We helped out General Motors, which people dubbed government motors. Has anybody seen the Chevrolet products lately? was at a traffic light and I saw a Chevy pickup and I thought, what college-degreed engineer come up with that nasty-looking thing? Poofy fenders, big giant wheel wells. I'm like, gosh, those are ugly. Ugly. Chevy cannot make a decent product anymore. The Camaro, but trucks, epic fail. I'm going to say it again. Barack Obama has no interest in rewarding the citizens of this country. Give every American over the age of 18 $1 million. The stimulus package was a lot of money, folks. $1 million in the hands of every American would have jump-started this economy like nobody's business. New houses, pay off loans, new car buy. There'd be a lot of spending. A lot of spending. But no, we rewarded idiot companies. We rewarded union boy businesses that can't build a product. I'm sorry, General Motors can't build a product. Not very good. Ford declined. Ford said, no, we don't want your stimulus. Good for them. I got a problem with these nasty people running our country, with these people that are shredding our Constitution, with feminists like Hillary Clinton getting all up in arms about the Supreme Court's decision to back Hobby Lobby in the name of the Constitution, that they have a right with their conscience to say, I can't support this. Hillary Clinton doesn't care about people's rights at all. Don't believe the lies. She cares about favoring, singling out a group of females so that they can kill their babies. Kill them. I'm tired of the word choice. I'm tired of the word abortion. Women that murder their children. Susan Smith put her 2 children in a car, released the brake, let it go down into the lake. Why? She wanted a boyfriend. The boyfriend didn't want kids. What about that dark-haired woman that drowned all her children in a bathtub? And it was the liberals that yelled and screamed for her demise. But it's okay to murder your child in the womb. I'm not going to argue with those kind of people. They're callous, they're jaded, they're murderers, and they're evil. Killing your child is a sin. It is a crime. And the U.S. Supreme Court made it legal in Roe v. Wade. If anybody wants to do any research into Roe v. Wade, look it up. If anybody would like to go even further and look at Margaret Sanger and look at her lesbian tendencies, anti-black, and black women have abortions in the shiploads, the black women don't pay attention to the history of Planned Parenthood. Margaret Sanger very clearly said that she wanted to eliminate the black scourge. Racist to the core. Most Americans don't pay attention to anything. We tell people good luck. I struggle with that. Why do we tell people good luck? There is no such thing as luck. Luck has no power to do anything. I say Godspeed. Either God's in it or he's not. And if he's not in it, it will ultimately fail. America was built on a constitution. America was built on laws. And we start shredding those laws and doing whatever we want, chaos ensues. When we start telling people they came from monkeys and that evolution is true and there is no God, we have people like Barack Obama grab the reins of power who do nothing constructive whatsoever. I'm sorry, atheists, but I have to say it. You can't run a country without acknowledging that God is God and that he is over all. Why do I say that? Because the wisdom of man is foolishness to God. I was thinking about the arrogance that has dominated our culture in everybody. I was thinking about just watching through my windshield that people will not, cannot, refuse to. Man, I just cut that guy off. That wasn't right. I'm sorry. We got a nation of people that can't say I'm sorry. They can't take personal responsibility for what they've done. They just get in your face more, flip you off, and yell some more. Women are the least likely in the United States to offer an apology. The least likely of the sexes to say, I wasn't very nice to you today, I'm sorry. They won't do it. They won't do it, as a rule. We have politicians that will not admit they're wrong, for the most part. We got a president that 50% of this country is looking at, shaking their head. But Barack Obama's sniffing his own egotistical fumes, and he's going to do as much damage as he can between now and 2016. It's disgusting. Next year we have an election. I'm going to tell all my viewers, you better get out there and vote. Not saying that that's going to change things for the better. But the two train wrecks he brought on the nation, Obamacare and the stimulus package, neither one of them have affected any good at all. So what if General Motors shuts down? Send those Union Boy babies to get a real job. All they do is whine. I'm tired of us funding Diapergate. The Union Boys are part of Diapergate. The teachers in America are part of Diapergate. We don't make enough money. You're not teaching our children anything. You teach them it's okay to be gay. You teach them to have respect for Ramadan. You teach them that abortion is a woman's right. You teach them a feministic, biased agenda that is anti-male to the core, anti-God to the core, anti-Christian to the core. And then you have the audacity to tell us that you teach science. No, you don't. Evolution is not science. You can't tell Richard Dawkins that. You can't tell the bulk of the atheists that. They'll sit there and tell you to your face they've got scientific proof. They have nothing scientific at all. Remember, people, they've changed its sleight of hand. Because it's taught in a science classroom and a so-called science textbook, they say it's science. There is no observable data that proves, backs up, and agrees that evolution is science. There isn't. There is science that the law of gravity exists. There is science behind a lot of things, but not evolution. A lot of the early scientists, Louis Pasteur and others, were Christians. They had a fear and a faith in God. Charles Darwin had a problem, like many atheists, with the suffering that mankind goes through. How could a good God allow all this to happen? Darwin, read chapter 1, 2, and 3 of Genesis. God saw that it was good, but he gave man a choice. And God said to Adam and Eve, you can have anything, just don't eat that tree over there. The knowledge of good and evil. For in the day that you eat of it, thou shalt surely die. In the Hebrew, it says, dying thou shalt surely die. 2 deaths, physical, spiritual, separation from God. I get tired of non-Christians saying, how could God let this happen? We let it happen, not God. We, by our choice, brought suffering and death and burial and disease and bloodshed and animals. The animal kingdom, I love the hypocrisy of the Greenpeace and the tree huggers and these naturists that want to, use recycled toilet paper and compost toilets and drive Priuses. And you're like, really? It's your sin, environmentalists, that brought the animal kingdom to tear and thrash each other apart. This didn't happen before we sinned. And to the evolutionists, to those who want to save the environment and think that their canvas bag that they go to the grocery store with multiple times is saving the environment when the average American carbon footprint is bigger than anybody globally. You just want to yell hypocrite much? When the granola bar freaks with the women with 4 inches of braided armpit hair go to the organic stores and spend on trendy designer food, are you serious? You really think you're saving the planet? No, you're making all the health food gurus filthy rich, just like the televangelists, just like the politicians, and just like the corporate sharks sitting in corporate mahogany desks or behind them. It's a joke, folks. I believe in eating healthy. I believe in supporting a behavior that doesn't litter. I remember years ago when I was in the state of Washington on my way to Seattle, I saw where they had clear-cut an entire beautiful mountainside, and it was hideous. They just scraped it. And I said, that ain't right. But there is a timber harvesting that takes place that is done conservatively without destroying the environment. Extracting oil out of the ground can be done conservatively without disrupting the environment. The environmentalists don't want you to believe that. We lock up our oil reserves. The environmentalists have got a stranglehold on America while we continue to get pimped at the pumps. And neither Democrat or Republican will put a stop to it. America's got a host of problems. It's got a raft of problems. And I could go on and on and on. Back to Hillary Clinton. She's against a personal business owner, the man who started Hobby Lobby, for having a conscience and saying, I can't get behind this in good faith. If Hillary Clinton has her way, she'll run right over a constitutional amendment guaranteeing freedom of religion. We need to vote out these anti-constitutional people at every level. Democrats, you need to do the same thing and pull your head out of your butts. Anybody that attacks our Constitution is a threat to this country. Pure and simple. We need to start asking ourselves a question, the next political leader that runs. Are you a constitutionalist? No, I don't want a capitalist. I don't want an abortionist. I don't want a homosexual. I want a constitutionalist. I want a man that runs, that believes in marriage between a man and a woman. I want a person that stops pork barreling and piggybacking agendas into the White House that have no business in here. I want a man who stands up and says, America was founded on immigrants. But can we do it right, please? If you're going to allow 77,000 people to come over the border, then allow us American men to be free from the tyranny of American women and go choose a wife somewhere else without all the hassle. I think that's fair. We're kind of tired of being limited to our choices here, to be quite frank. Every day I get proof, unending proof, that something has taken over American women. By and large, there are exceptions. Not Walt, not all women are like this, but they're a mess. I went by the light rail bus stop down at Colfax yesterday in my bus, and I looked at the women standing there, glued to their text messaging. Short shorts, cleavage-revealing shirts, and I thought, yep, they're eye candy, but they have nothing to offer a relationship but a disaster. Lawsuits. Taking the man for a ride. I know there's bad American men out there. I know it. But I also know there's a lot of bad American women out there. It makes me ill, folks. It makes me ill that for those of us that try to do right, there are hurdles and fences we can't jump over. I can't just go to Australia and get a job in Melbourne. Can't do it. And if I tried to get there illegally, they would promptly kick my butt out. A friend of mine told me yesterday, why don't you go back to Hong Kong for a year? And I said, for what? I can't get a visa. I could stay there for a year, and we're back to what? Dating a bunch of single gals, fooling around, wasting money, and then come back to the U.S., get an apartment, start all over again? No, not at 48. And I said, I want to be with Indokita. How can we make that happen? And the answer is, I can't. I'm going to tell my Christian viewers something you need to pay attention to. When you have a job and you have a place to live, and those things are working, you don't just upset the apple cart and pull up tent stakes and leave. You better make sure that you have the leading of God, because I'll tell you what, it's easy for us to say, well, I got the right to choose. Yes, you do. Let me make something crystal clear. When it's time for you to go, God will let you know. He's fully capable of doing so. Your rental situation starts crummy. Your job situation starts turning crummy. Things just start happening. I'm not talking about the trials of life, the things in your job that stress you and max you out, but there will be a shaking of things. I've seen it in my life. I look back, and God usually moved on me by pressing in, where finally I said, man, I got to get out of here. God's going, thank you. Mission accomplished. God is big enough to take care of that. It's not for Michael to manipulate. It's not for any of us to manipulate. And I hear a lot of people telling me, out of their sincereness and their goodness, well, go over there, you see, you try. I'm learning something as I get older. We're not supposed to strive for that. We're supposed to be content with such things as we have. Seek the Lord. Do what He tells us to do, right where He's planted us to do, and let Him open or shut doors. Too many Americans have grown up with the philosophy that we can kick in doors. Well, let me tell you a little secret about that. You have to be careful. You go kicking in doors, there could be a lion on the other side, and you can get eaten. One thing I've learned about Jesus Christ is He's not capricious. When it's time for us to go, I know when I had a plan to go to Williston to make money so I could go back to the Philippines. First of all, I was ignorant. The amount of money I was told one could make was a farce. 2, there was no rental properties up there. So many people came in to work the oil fields that the towns were suddenly inundated with more people than properties. And people are living in travel trailers, and I don't want to live that way. When we make money our God, we compromise. And we'll go through some stuff that we will regret. When we make God our God and say, you know, God, if you want me in the Philippines, you can make this happen without me struggling and trying and twisting and writhing. If you want me to be with some woman, whether it's here or there, you're the one that can make it happen. There's too many viewers of mine that think, well, but you got to try Pacific. Try what? Don't you think I've tried? I've tried to tell myself I dated somebody in 5 weeks, stayed in a marriage 14 years, and it wasn't good. Most everything that I tried in my own strength has caused me and netted me failure. What is the lesson of that? Trust in the Lord. Lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct your paths. Do we believe that? So let's just quit a good job. Let's quit a good place I have to stay because a little trouble comes, and go run off and go somewhere else, and then what? Go find another bus driving job, go find another apartment, and find out that my gross pay is even less than it is now and I can barely make it. What have I done? Nothing. I want to say something. When God moves us, it's always a move up to do His will. He could have me make less than I'm making now, but if He calls me to do that, the expenses may be lower. Don't get carried away with wrong thinking in American culture. We've been taught because we have freedom that the sky's the limit. How many of you heard the view going around? You can do anything you want if you set your mind to it. It's funny, I was writing Indoquito yesterday and that song came through my mind. I got my mind set on you, set on you. You know, is there really power in the mind? Is there really power that we can bring into being something? Norman Vincent Peale would have us believe that, the power of positive thinking. Now, I want to be careful and I want to say something. Negative thinking depresses you, positive thinking uplifts you, but a positive thinking that is rose-colored glasses and refuses to look at reality. Case in point, feminists. They tell us they're liberated, but I'm telling you, when I listen to them and I watch them, they're some of the most miserable women on earth. Women that submit to God, women that love their husbands, women that dress modestly. I'll tell you what, I'd rather be around them than these so-called liberated ones, because they're anything but liberated. They are chained into an angry rage of an ideal that doesn't give them peace, doesn't give them joy, and does not liberate them at all. On the contrary, it enslaves them with chains. We cannot do anything we want if we set our minds to it. That's bull. One man rises above the ghetto because God has blessed that person. And then he writes books saying how I did it my way. If he didn't have his health, if he didn't have the breaks, if he didn't have this, he never would have made it. Something that non-Christians don't want to admit is that even the blessings you enjoy, those come from the hand of God, because he can stop in and zap them right out from under you right now. His own Bible says the rain falls on the just and the unjust. His sun rises on the just and the unjust. Go ahead and tell me you don't believe in him. But if you really think that you have control of your next breath, that's another thing. Gosh, the more I look at the complexity of the body and the whole evolution thing, I have to laugh. These people really believe this crap? That it just so happened that after this single cell crawled up on a beach and just sat there for millions of years before it morphed into who knows what. Ludicrous. We have a heart that pumps out systematically blood. That the body, God has set a mechanism into place where we breathe while we're sleeping, while we're awake. That all just happened by accident. That it just happened by accident that we have 2 arms, 2 ears. I'm amazed. Boy, evolution did an outstanding job of design. Amazing. That it created a man that could impregnate a woman who could have a like kind to us. And now we got people sitting there saying that it's natural to be homosexual. Sword fight anyone? Really? How many of you learned very early on you can't put a square peg into a round hole? But homosexuals are trying to do that. Lesbians are trying to do it. I'm not denying that there's titillation that comes from some of this behavior. I've been down that road. I've even admitted that there's some things that are pleasing, though they're wrong. But why do we have such a movement saying, I'm born that way? But you stand up and tell the homosexuals that want to claim that, yep, I was born a thief, I'm stealing your car. Foul ball. No, you're the foul ball. I'm amazed at the hypocrisy in our society. But let's get back to this power of positive thinking and all that gobbledygook. I'm going to tell you, people that are more balanced than the people that get through life are those that face life realistically. Not with an unhealthy obsession with the morbid and morose. But I can't deal with women that go to the mall and spend money and go, we gotta be positive. Give me a frickin' break. If I want to hang out with flakes, I'll put some Raisin Bran in a bowl. But I'm not interested in hanging around with plastic fake people. It's funny, I watched a woman. I could clearly see on her face she wasn't a happy woman. And she's watching her daughter on the merry-go-round and her fake plastic smile, everything. I thought, how come women of all people don't realize they're being fake to children? Talking in a different voice to kids. I saw through that very early on, and I hate it. I see mothers talking in a whole different voice. And that's one thing I did not do with my son. I looked at my son and I talked to him the way I'm talking to you viewers right now. I didn't tell my son, that's a truck, that's a car. I said, that's a garbage truck. The front end's an International DT466 engine. It's an automatic transmission. My son at an early age would walk into a store and see a truck go by and he'd call it out what it was. And another woman says, how does your son know that? Even my then wife at the time said, because Dad didn't believe in talking baby talk to him, he just told him what it is. You see, if we teach kids to be babies, they'll be babies. And we got a nation of babies, don't we? We got a bunch of self-centered girls that all they can do is text message and social media. That is the height of retarded, folks. The height of retarded. Girls can't say thank you to the bus driver. They can't say thank you to their teachers. They can't be polite. They can't do any chores. They can't do anything except stare at their boobs all the time and worry about the next shirt they're going to wear and go to the mall and buy more bling blings and ding dings for themselves. And I'm going to say it like it is. We got a nation of self-centered teenage brat girls that have never grown up. We got a nation of teenage brat boys that have never grown up. They don't know how to split wood, cut wood, stack wood. They don't know how to change a litter box. They don't know how to run a vacuum. They don't know how to cook food beyond pressing a Zappums in the microwave. They can't do a thing. And these are the ones walking around with the attitudes and smarting off to us adults. And I'm going, you know what? Sometimes I really wish a war would break out and you'll see how much of a pussy you are. Real quick. You'll be sitting there terrified. You think because you can play car theft San Andreas that you're a tough kid. Woo-hoo. What are you going to do when you're surrounded by a bunch of soldiers going, we're going to blow your brains out? We live in such a disconnected era. It's true. America did better during the war era. We came together. And I'm going to say it. I'm going to say what I never thought I would say because I use social media. I use YouTube. Social media is also destroying us. People don't talk to their neighbors. People don't connect with their neighbors. Today, almost every girl out there thinks they're hot looking. And they're showing it. Whether they're fat and walking around in a two-piece bathing suit, or they're teenage girls dressed like little whores. That's all they got to live for. There's more and more pedophiles showing up. There's more and more adults, more and more fathers molesting, sleeping with, and having sex with their daughters today than ever before, right here in the United States of America. And I was told by somebody just the other day that there's a push to legitimize all sexual behavior. That was said years ago by Christians, and everybody laughed at it. For these parents that think that their children are safe, you better start paying attention to what they're doing online. It might surprise you. Very soon, there's going to be an upcoming video about what happened with me. And it's going to shock you all. I'm going to warn you with that. You better check their social media. You better take a look at what they're doing. I am going to leak out this much. Pacific got an attorney for the restraining order case. Because our court systems are so messed up. The more I started looking at this, and what a friend of mine in Michigan discovered with the social media of my son and this 21-year-old perp was disturbing. And when she took screenshots of that and sent them to me, and I printed them off and gave them to my attorney, gave them to my ex through the attorney, everybody was stunned. The 21-year-old got on his Facebook and made threats against me the day the restraining order was issued. Not one thing was said in the complaint about Pacific threatened me. He called me stupid effing pussy, cussed, and then his stupid little dirtball fans started making threats to come kick my ass, blowthorn me, and offer my lungs as trophies to their gods, Surtur and others. And I started reading this and I'm like, oh my gosh. My friend in Michigan is to be praised for what she did. Then we found more and more and more. It is now in the hands of a detective. Last night, I stood in the basement of her home. The restraining order was dropped. She asked me to come over. I went down in the basement just before they both came back, as she made the effort to kick that 21-year-old out of the house once and for all. I couldn't believe the punk's reasoning. This is the punk who on the 30th told me, yeah, you don't even have a place. You live with two old people. Mouthed off. I said, you don't have an apartment at all. No, I'm getting one tomorrow. Today is June 16th. He still doesn't have a place to live. This guy is trouble as trouble can be. I looked in his Facebook page. There's all kinds of satanic stuff. He's into death metal. He's out of Finland. A friend of mine in Yugoslavia told me about the death metal culture. I had no idea how far down the road my son had gone. My son's own Facebook page states he's a female. Ouch. On his own pictures, he has lesbian superimposed over it. I finally made sense of this. This 21-year-old kid convinced my son he's a girl so that he can probably massage, or if he hasn't already done a sexual act with him. This has been blown wide open. It's in the hands of the authorities right now, and I can say that. Last night, I stood in the basement while my ex-wife said, you need to get your stuff and get out of my house, and he stood there and argued with her. The reason I stood there was to be a witness, and I said, if anything gets out of hand, I said, you don't call me, you call 911. There's big problems, but Pacific got a victory. God rescued me. The attorney showed her all this Facebook stuff and the social media stuff. She broke down and cried. She was shocked. She had no idea this was going on. When all this came out, I had a spot on the radio station in Vermont. Excuse me. And I told the people in Brattleboro, Vermont, parents, you need to get into your kids' social media. Their children living under your house, they do not have a right to privacy in the social media department. Then I started digging deeper. My son admitted that there were comments made that definitely hinted he was bi or now gay. This is a 21-year-old punk who stood calling me a deadbeat, saying I don't care about my boy. And when I found all this, I thought, you don't care about anybody, kid. 10 years from now, you won't even be in this guy's life. We're moving in a legal direction. That I'm going to tell you. This 21-year-old is trouble. I read his site. Calls himself the butt pillager. Calls himself, likes touching butts. He's proud of his bisexuality, and I said what I said in a video months ago, that homosexuals are aggressive. This is no exception. 21-year-old swoops in on a 14-and-a-half-year-old kid, knows he's got some issues. He doesn't care. It's demonic and it's satanic. I'm still watching his Facebook page. There's not 1 ounce of intelligence laid out in this at all. I was reflecting back on when I was 21. What was I doing? I thought I was working a job. This guy's on Facebook with 3,200 stupid, immature, scary females and males that all think he's cute. He's got earrings all on his lip. He's not handsome. He's not attractive in any way. Can't hold a job for the life of him. And he has got all these people eating out of his hand. What amazed me as I'm looking in on is I thought this punk doesn't even know I'm watching his every move. Now he says he's going to go on a trip to California. Great. California needs more people like you. I told the police, I said he had told me when he was kind to me one day that he doesn't want to do anything wrong and get deported back to Finland. The cop laughed and said, sheesh, we can report him back to Finland, but we can't do anything about these illegals across the border. And he laughed. When I asked you for your prayers, thank you for that, viewers. Your prayers came through. In the same week of the hearing, a fan of mine who is 2 years older than this punk found the social media that both of them were on. Called her on a Tuesday morning and she said, oh, I'm so glad you called. You won't believe what I found. I emailed you screenshots. I was like, oh, wow. Wednesday, I finally decided I have to get an attorney involved. This needs to be dealt with. The restraining order was dropped. The kid never showed up at the courtroom. Of course he wouldn't. He doesn't have a leg to stand on. He's a mouth. That's all he is. He's one of these little punks that would probably get revenge behind the scenes, cheap shots, vandalism. We're all aware of it here at the house, as are everybody else around us. Because when Pacific gets on something, we don't play games. We start moving in a direction. The goal now is to get this punk as far away from my child as possible. The next step is restraining orders against him. We had to do things a certain way. But now we're moving in a direction. I wanted to share that with my viewers because you need to be careful if you have children, what they're doing online. You have to be careful. I didn't want to get an attorney, but our courts are such today that for me to go in that room by myself, I never would have got all this stuff out. When I told my ex-wife my recount of the story and what really happened, she was shocked. She said, so he lied to me. I said, yeah, totally. My attorney looked at her and said, you won't win this case at all. But let me show you these things that Michael found. Actually, my YouTube fan and viewer. Then I had a thought. I'd like to take the fans and subscribers that I have and the people that really like my channel and say to the 21-year-old no good for nothing punk, you bring your 3,200 Facebook riffraff against my almost 2,200 subscribers and 500,000 viewers, give or take. And we'll see who's got the bigger army here. All he can do is make idle threats. And because he's made those threats, he just put a target on his back for the legal authorities. He didn't buy his own car. He hasn't accomplished a dang thing for himself. And this is our young people today, making fun of, mocking everybody while people hand them a free ride, give them places to stay, give them cars, can't keep a job. This is our young people today going like this to our face. And he's the one that mouths off about America. Well, I got a message for him. Go back to Finland and do what you're doing to a 14-and-a-half-year-old boy over there and see how far you get, punk. Oh yeah, this stuff was disturbing. But I have fans that care. And I have people that care. And I haven't told you everything. But I thought I'd let that much come out. Because I want my viewers to know that my belief in God isn't just some pie in the sky by and by. That God allowed. Somebody took it upon herself to dig around on that internet and had been for days. I don't believe that was an accident. I believe that God did that. My focus now and her focus now is not on each other. It's about that boy. We need to be careful because Satan can get in the middle of everything. And when you have children, your issues with your exes have got to just, you got to say, hey, this is done. This is done. That kid isn't done, though. We live in a messed up world, people. And if you really knew how scary these 20-something-year-old, these teenage kids and what they're getting into online, they're like rats running around in a beautiful ship, chewing out the wiring and everything. We better start paying attention to these young people. Because one day when all the lights go out, everybody's going to be yelling, hey, what happened? All those little dark hooded punks down there, they're chewing away everything. Somebody needs to put some rat poison out and deal with them. What am I meaning by that? I'm meaning this, that we better pay attention to what these young people are doing. Because they're getting online and they're using the underground world to say a lot of anti-American, hateful stuff. I never threatened the kid at all, but he threatened me on his Facebook. It's all there. I have the copies. Other people have the copies. The law enforcement now has the copies. Way to go, dude. This is Pacific. I don't like what's happening to our country, but I'm a constitutionalist, and I believe in the American flag. And people like the punk I talked about, and people that come over here from another country and mouth off about our country, please go. Please go. And I wish American people would start voting with intelligence on presidential leaders and stop voting in people that are destroying and shredding our Constitution like Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, Nancy Pelosi, and others. This is Pacific. I gotta go to work. Bye-bye.